Welcome to the WWE Podcast, your place for the most passionate wrestling analysis on the web.
Just turn Roman heel. What is WWE waiting for?
When other wrestling podcasts put you to sleep, you can count on the WWE Podcast to keep you engaged and asking for more.
I've been watching wrestling for over 20 years, and that was one of the best matches I've ever seen.
This is unlike any other wrestling analysis. So without any further delay, let's get the show started right now.
This is the WWE Podcast. It is Tuesday, November 19th, 2019. Survivor Series is this Sunday. Everybody strap in for what is going to be a compelling, well-told, unforced brand supremacy story of NXT versus Raw versus SmackDown. A rivalry in which it is impossible to get into your opponent's building, where Triple H claims the doors are wide open, and all of the issues of your rivals getting into the building will now be resolved because Triple H says the doors are open. And you suddenly put all of your personal issues aside for what is all about the company's brand rivalry pay-per-view, an ultimate triple threat pay-per-view of the modern era Survivor Series. How about that for a promo? How about that for a truth or honest trailer? You guys ever seen... Have you ever seen the Honest Trailer YouTube channel? I feel like that's just what this was. This is a extremely forced, contrived, built into the schedule pay-per-view that is Survivor Series, where everybody puts their rivalries aside and personal issues to just fight for their brand that they didn't have a choice but to be drafted to, but damn it, they are loyal to the bone to throw everything aside and tag with your bitter enemy for brand supremacy. It's just nonsense. It's nonsense. And I don't mean to start this podcast off with a rant off the bat, but I am at a fever pitch up to my eyes in this brand rivalry fabricated nonsense. And if you think I'm in the minority, just listen to the Boston crowd. The Boston crowd, a traditionally hot crowd for the final segment of the show. I mean, it sounded as if you were just doing an intermission. It really sounded like that. So if you think I'm just being a bit harsh or just ranting to rant or I'm negative or all I do is complain, no, check out what the product's doing right now to the overall believability, and really the intriguing part of professional wrestling is now pushed aside, which is personal rivalries and things that make sense and organically happen rather than just, oh, well, calendar flipped to November, let's hate the other brand because we want to be the supreme brand, of which that means zero. It means absolutely nothing and will be forgotten a week after Survivor Series is over. After that brand can claim victory, of which you know it's not going to do what happened last year in SmackDown getting swept, other than the pre-show match, I believe. And so you'll have the women, which are obviously representing all three brands. You'll have maybe Becky Lynch win that. And then you'll have the traditional 5-on-5-on-5. Oh, don't worry, the entire match is a triple threat match. Elimination style, by the way, so you'll get your fill of triple threat matches in a single pay-per-view. So maybe NXT will win that match. And then you'll have the SmackDown guys of the New Day win the triple threat tag team match. I mean, so what you're doing is essentially just giving each brand its own leg to stand on for whatever match they win. And I assume that each brand will probably win one match. NXT may get the victory in more than one match, which is fine. And honestly, NXT is really the winner here at the expense of the Raw and SmackDown rosters that have been completely inept. When you look at what NXT has done, decided to just show up to the arena, decide to come through the crowd. The worst security in the history of man is watching the doors of this building. If you truly had an invasion, if you truly wanted to keep these, quote, intruders out, there is no sense of that whatsoever, and they are freely coming in, even coming through the entire backstage area to walk down the ramp, going through gorilla position, standing on the ramp, vulnerable with their backs turned, and what happens? Triple H just stands there, runs his mouth, of which we'll get to that segment. Don't worry. We're going to get to the Kevin Owens Triple H segment, which intrigued me in a lot of different ways, and was one of the brighter spots of the show. But this whole thing of the rival brands are just suddenly taking over is nonsense when you have a complete lopsided numbers game in your favor in the locker room when there's a handful of your rivals out there, but it's the same cast of characters coming out to make the save for the brand, which is like the OC and AJ Styles. Like, they are the only ones who seem to be coming out to Raw's aid, and there's a delayed response. You know the attack's coming, and yet you have the rival brands coming in at will, any point in the at any entry point in the arena, through backstage, as I said, through gorilla position, down the ramp, kind of just taking their time and cutting the balls off of Raw, saying that they don't have that, to have the guts to do it. And, eventually they ended up attacking NXT, but it doesn't make sense that you can't tell me the entire locker room has been emptied out when there are like 7 or 8 guys that are coming to Raw's aid, and it's never... it's never a numbers game in favor of Raw or SmackDown, for that matter, who just continue to get, quote, outnumbered by NXT inexplicably. It makes no sense. It shows how inept the storytelling is for this forced rivalry. And you know what? What makes it bad is that it's forced. What makes it worse is that the execution of it is even worse. That's what doubles down on the awfulness that is Survivor Series, that has become a wasteland of storytelling. That is what Survivor Series has become, is a wasteland of storytelling, of doubling down on a terrible idea to begin with. And if you don't believe me, like I said, listen to the crowd. Listen. You have, a crazy brawl ending Raw. But what's the audience doing? Sitting there going, well, we're here for Raw. We like NXT because they're the cool brand. We feel neutral about SmackDown, and we have no vested interest in who wins this because we could care less who gets bragging rights about being the supreme brand. And all the personal rivalries have gone away. The stars are getting mixed in the shuffle. Enemies are becoming friends, and all of the great things that make pro wrestling storytelling work are now erased for this nonsensical. Gotta have a gimmick pay-per-view every few months, and it's nonsensical crap. It shows just how inept the storytelling is, and how, really, honestly, how antiquated, that's the word I was looking for, this rivalry is. It just isn't a thing anymore. There was a time in which it was kind of Raw versus SmackDown, and, you'd get into it, but even back then when it was Eric Bischoff versus Stephanie McMahon, or, Shane versus Stephanie, at least there was a protagonist and antagonist. And yeah, you had some guys you liked on the brand and guys you didn't like. And even back then you could poke holes in it. But now it's a calendar item. It's just something that comes up and you go, oh guys, we all need to have the American spirit, the spirit of the brand. And Rollins is calling himself Monday Night Rollins, which is a terrible name. It's a awful nickname. It does not fit. It is contrived as well, and Seth Rollins is damaged goods, not just for that. Seth Rollins is a mess for a whole bunch of other reasons. And I don't think they should turn him heel, as I've said, but Seth Rollins is a whole other project that WWE needs to get themselves straightened out with quickly. But yes, so I don't know. So that's my quick rant to get off my chest as I closed out Raw. Watching this silent brawl, it was this. I was watching mimes fight. I mean, that's what it sounded like. Watching mimes fight each other, because that's the crowd reaction we got, and deservedly so. How in the hell are you expecting fans to get in this and just go, oh, it's crazy action? That's what I'm looking for. Yeah, well, you forget about the human element of this, that we're not just robots who are just this, meat-sucking, flesh-craving animal that we actually need storytelling that makes pro wrestling work. And, oh yeah, logical storytelling, consistent storytelling, organic storytelling, not just, well, flip the calendar, it's Hell in a Cell, guys, whatever matches are out there, we're going to put inside the cell. Or, well, you know, guys, whatever's happening this month, whatever rivalries are happening, they're going to get a tables match, you're going to get a ladders match, and you're going to get a chairs match, just because that's the pay-per-view, and that's what we're going to do. It's crap. It's terrible storytelling to force this stuff into existence. It's the antithesis, and it is the poison for good storytelling is Survivor Series matchups of brand versus brand. I enjoyed the traditional 5-on-5 traditional elimination match when it had meaning and it was team versus team, like Team Austin versus Team Bischoff. Man, I loved that. Even the Team Authority versus Team Cena. That was good too in of its right, and Dolph Ziggler actually ended up being the one to win it for John Cena, if you remember, and the whole debut of Sting and all that. So there have been some really good 5-on-5 traditional elimination matches, and they made sense. And now it's just become this faux brand supremacy, rah, our team because I'm wearing blue and you're wearing red, and I don't like you because you're wearing red, but oh, here come the black and gold. It's garbage. How about that? I know I'm being a little bit foggy and not unclear. I'm a little bit unclear about how I feel. I understand that. You know, I need to really give you guys more of an explanation of how I feel about this Survivor Series pay-per-view. And yes, there are some matches that I am looking forward to, and I'm looking forward to Brock versus Rey Mysterio. That I'm actually looking forward to. Daniel Bryan and The Fiend to some degree as well. I'm concerned about the no-selling issue with The Fiend. So outside of this brand rivalry crap, and I'm using that term very lightly, and I really want to just go explicit here, but I'm not gonna. I'm gonna exercise some self-control. But there are a couple of matches on this card, and yes, even the women's triple threat between Shayna Baszler, Bayley, and Becky Lynch. I am looking forward to that as well. I think that has the potential to really, really knock it out of the park. And would I prefer it's not a triple threat, of course, but all three women I think could benefit from this, and I'll be giving you guys predictions on Saturday. So, wow. Big rant to open the show, so typically I give you guys some housekeeping items and then I go into my rant, but this time we're going a little backwards. So welcome to the WWE podcast. Thank you guys for joining me. This is a show that is by a fan for fans and completely unaffiliated with WWE. This is not After the Bell. This is not State Run Radio by Mr. Corey Graves. This is a true fan's perspective for you guys that I think may feel the same way as I do, and at times vehemently disagree with me, but that's fine. That's what this is about. That's what this is for. But just so you guys know, I was originally scheduled to have a guest tonight. We had to reschedule, no problem. So what we're gonna do, my work schedule is crazy this week. It's like effing crazy. So what I'm gonna do is, usually I'll have my Wrestling Nostalgia tomorrow. I'm gonna push that to Thursday, and the reason I'm gonna push that to Thursday, I think, is because I'm just gonna be so damn tired. I have a conference going on up here for my work, and I have to stay late, and it's a bunch of nonsense. So that means I get home late, which means I have to get my kid to bed late, which means I gotta, try to shower and work out, and then I gotta, try to record this show. It'd be like effing midnight before I get to sleep, and then I gotta get up for work the next day anyway. So odds are I will be doing a show Thursday rather than tomorrow. So there's a slight chance I could do tomorrow, but more likely it'll be Thursday for the Wrestling Nostalgia. And then, yes, Saturday we'll be back with Ashley as we get to give you guys our long-awaited Survivor Series predictions. And then, of course, Sunday will be Survivor Series itself. So, and don't worry, yes, NXT and AEW reviews are coming this week too. So we still got lots of content to go this week. And I want to thank everybody for listening. By the way, you guys can check me out anywhere. I mean, I should be everywhere that you can think of, although right now, lately, on Pocket Casts, there's been some feed issues, according to one of my followers on Twitter. He said, hey, I can't find you. You haven't done a show since November 3rd. But I recently switched my home from Red Circle back to Spreaker. And so I'm wondering if that feed connect got disconnected. But nonetheless, you can check me out on any other app you can think of. And if you don't like ads and you want to get rid of them, Easy solution. You head on over to patreon.com/WWE podcast, and you can get yourself 100% ad-free and get yourself, even on this show, a shout-out, a bunch of other cool stuff. And you can head on over there anytime you'd like, and I'd like to get you on board, and I'm available anytime for chat. I'm pretty quick on the response rate in terms of getting you guys if you want to chat back and forth via Messenger on there. So it's a lot of cool new features on the Patreon platform. So check me out there, and thanks a lot for doing that, and also the website. You know what that is. All right, well, so I'm going to take a breather from that rant, and I'm going to go through Raw a little bit more in detail and start at the top of the show. So we have Becky come out, and she addresses Bayley and Baszler and the recent developments with them. Becky doesn't want to wait till Survivor Series, so she wants to fight right now. The typical, I'm not going to wait till Sunday, let's do this now, of which it has a success rate of exactly 0%. But it's, the tried and true formula. Get the crowd excited. That's intent. It's, oh my God, we could see it happen before Survivor Series. Yeah, okay, well, if you've watched wrestling for more than a month, you know that that's not going to happen. But I get the logic there. I'm fine with it. Whatever. So, we had the Ikonics interrupt. And, well, actually, Samoa Joe did too, and we didn't know why, and he went on commentary. More on that later. But we had the Ikonics interrupt, and, they did their usual annoying, but in a good way, quick heat-getting comments, and then it ended up with a tag match between the Iconics and Charlotte and Becky. And Becky and Charlotte won pretty clean, pretty quick, and after the match, Charlotte and Becky headed up the ramp, and that's when Shayna Baszler, Duke, and Maria Shafir run out, and they attack the Iconics. And then Flair and Lynch ran back to the ring. It turns into a brawl, of which that was the theme of the night. And the fight was broken up by security because suddenly they care about that, that particular part of the rivalry. But the rest of the men, they don't care about that, So the security guards were pretty picky on why they were deciding to break this fight up. But Becky gave one of the security guards a pretty good shot in the face. And yes, you could tell that they are just local wrestling talent. And there is such a distinction between wrestling talent that's local and like true security guards or police. There's just such a look. And I don't mean that in a derogatory, demeaning way, but you just can see it and go, yeah, that's not a real security guard. They're about to get, laid out with something. And sure enough, Becky laid one of them out. So, again, I'm okay with this. They're pairing Becky and Charlotte because they can't put them in opposing positions. We've seen that done more times than Randy Orton versus John Cena. So I understand why they're doing it. It seems kind of forced. At the same time, they've both acknowledged that they don't want to be together. So why the hell are you together? But hey, fine, they're a team. And the only thing I didn't like about this, and the match itself was okay. There wasn't a whole lot of time for this, and I don't like how quickly the Iconics are getting disposed of. They have been on TV, not in this prominent of a position to open up Monday Night Raw, but they've returned to TV a few weeks back, and now they're in a more prominent position than they ever have been, and they get dispatched really quickly here. I mean, I was a proponent of the Iconics continuing with that Women's Tag Team Championship run way longer than it did, and then they weren't even on the show, and so I don't know. That's the one part I didn't like, is that the Iconics were basically, almost a squash match, and I hate to say it. Alrighty, next up, we had, let's see, I'm going through my notes. Well, actually, somebody else's notes, because I don't want to have to rewrite the whole thing of Raw, right? It makes sense. So, we have Carl Anderson versus Umberto Carrillo, but Ryder and Hawkins were backstage for an interview before this, and talking about their upcoming title shot against the Viking Raiders. And then the Authors of Pain appear, and they beat down Hawkins and Ryder. AOP walk off. I like this. That's what AOP need to do. I am more interested in them now in a single segment than I have been in their entire careers. Outside of their great sit-down promos. And I said this before, I'll say it again. They remind me so much, if you guys have seen Breaking Bad, of the two cousins. The bald cousins that wore those silver suits that were friends or cousins of Tuco. And that is what they remind me of. They've got that just deadly, could kill you with no emotion stare. And that's a huge asset. I like where they're going with Authors of Pain. very, I'm very, very big on them right now. Very high on where they're going. I like the direction. I like the presentation, and I'm high on them. Okay, Carl Anderson and Umberto Carrillo. So this one ended with Umberto Carrillo winning, as you would expect. Carl Anderson just took the fall here, and was there really any other outcome here that would have made sense? You have Umberto Carrillo challenging AJ Styles for the United States Championship next week. You can't have him lose to Carl Anderson, which would then make more sense to have Carl Anderson face AJ Styles, and you don't want to go that road of disbanding this group and causing tension. I mean, we're not there yet. I don't want to see it. We don't need it. But again, the match was fine. The Street Profits came out to even the odds, and Umberto finally mounts a comeback. He hits a moonsault, and then the OC try to interfere, but Ford and Dawkins, a.k.a. the Street Profits, help, and then it leads to Umberto rolling up Anderson for the 3 count. So they get the infamous 3 count via roll-up, which is the only way, by the way, by law. It's an actual law written in legislation that you cannot win the 24/7 championship any other way than a roll-up. I mean, everyone has just forgotten how to get out of a roll-up, situation. That's just how you win the 24/7 championship. That's it. All right. Well, moving down here. So here's an interesting note. We had a Seth Rollins backstage interview with Charlie Caruso. And by the way, anyone else notice Charlie Caruso's got some guns on her? And I don't mean, her boobs, okay? For those of you who think I'm insinuating her boobs, I'm not. I'm talking about her actual arms, right? If you don't follow her on Instagram, she's got a pretty damn good body on her. And I mean that in a way, not sexually. I'm talking about, how impressive she is from a muscular perspective, toned, and just, it's very impressive how good of shape she keeps herself in. So kudos to her, considering she's not in the ring and she just is big into fitness. And but hey, if you're around that 24/7, it kind of encourages you to keep it up, and you're on national television, and I get it. But I think very many people don't realize just how good of shape Charlie Caruso's in. I mean, she could, if she wanted to make it a career in the ring, she probably could. But all right, so we had this interview with Seth, and he talks about Andrade, gives him some props for his in-ring skills, and he's going to once again prove why he's Monday Night Rollins. God, I hate that. It's almost as bad as Michael Cole saying, and here comes the big dog. It makes me, it's just, I don't know, certain things just make me feel embarrassed for them. I feel embarrassed saying it, and I feel embarrassed watching it. When Michael Cole says that. But nonetheless, any case, we have Monday Night Rollins, whatever the F that means. What does that even mean? What does that even mean? Other than your name and, Raw both start with the same letter. Outside of that, what's the commonality? What's the common denominator? Show me the link here. It sounds good. They both start with R. Cool. All right. Well, what the hell is that? What does this mean? It's your show? I don't need people to claim it's their show. I can't tell you how many times this is my show. I mean, Kevin Owens has done it. All right. Sometimes he does it in an endearing way, or does it in a way that he gets you to like what he says it. When Seth Rollins says it, I cringe. I go, no, bro, this ain't your show. All right? You can say it's Rollins instead of Raw, and that's a cute little play on words. Because you both start with R. Yippee. I mean, I don't know. Can you tell I'm a little bit frustrated with Seth Rollins' character? But don't worry, guys. He addressed those concerns, or addressed the wink and nod to the fact that, hey, I know that you guys want to see me fail. He made the analogy of the New England Patriots, who have a legendary quarterback who's been so good for so long, people want to see him fall. And then he, looked at the camera and said, "Sound familiar?" AKA, he feels that the fans, want to see him fall because he's been so good for so long. No, that's not why we want to see you fail. We're starting to lose support in Seth Rollins because of the awful things he's been involved with for so long. I don't need a heel turn. He could be a very successful babyface. And I don't need to go chapter and verse on why the fans are turning on him. It's not because, oh, well, people love to tear you down and build you back up. That's not what it is here. It's just he is a victim of terrible booking, of being involved with Becky Lynch on air that was a complete bomb, of which Becky has recovered nicely and Seth hasn't. Seth being originally kicked out of the Authority, he didn't decide to leave. He got dumped by the Authority, if we all remember that. Some promos that have been questionable. His Hell in a Cell match really put it over the edge with The Fiend. The Fiend is still reeling from that ending, or from that finish, and not as hot as he once was prior to Hell in a Cell. A lot of damage was done in that. Man, a lot of damage was done by Hell in a Cell. And he has yet to define who and what he is. I don't need the we stuff. Okay, I don't need the soft baby face. It's not just me. It's you and me. If it wasn't for you guys, I wouldn't be here where I am today. So it's we. We did this. Shut up. I don't need you to transparently acknowledge that somehow by me yelling for you and cheering you, it had a result in how you performed. It's just, I don't need it. I don't need it. When you pander, you automatically lose me. There's a whole laundry list of things, Seth, and not one of them is you've been so good for so long that I want to see you fail. Because I don't think that you ever reached your true babyface potential due to terrible booking, the fact that you have an annoyingly natural voice, and that's a compliment if you're a heel. If you're a babyface, he has to somehow circumvent that. And look, his voice is his voice, but it's tailor-made for a heel. It's that smarmy, annoying, nails on a chalkboard, want to slap him in the face voice. That's just the way it is, Seth. And it's not that you're so good for so long. I understand the logic behind that. I get it. People want to see the Patriots lose because they've been so good for so long. But the fact of the matter is the Patriots have earned everything they've gotten. They win the games legitimately. That's not a predetermined outcome. So, and anyway, I mean, pro wrestling has so many more elements to it. But that analogy, Seth, is just wrong. It's just wrong. Okay. So anyway, man, I'm on freaking I'm on fire tonight, and I don't know why. All right. So Bobby Lashley beat No Way Jose. After God Almighty, Lana came out and talking about how she's filing for divorce from Rusev while Rusev's on overseas tour, and that she's filed for a restraining order against Rusev and she wants him out of their lives. And she originally had a 90-mile restraining order and then a 90-day restraining order, which turned into a 90-foot restraining order. I don't think that was on purpose. I think Lana is just genuinely effing up in the ring. I mean, I want this over. Please, just save the pain, spare the pain from all of us, and for God's sakes, just end this at Survivor Series. I don't have 100% confidence that this is going to end at Survivor Series, and could it continue beyond? Yeah, and that's what scares me. That scares me. I don't need this going any longer. Spare the pain. Please. Then we get Lashley and Lana making out. Good grief. Okay. Moving down the line here. So we get Andrade versus Seth. A good match here, and it's something that I would love to see happen again. From bell to bell. This was something that I would like again. It was a tease for something I think coming down the line. And Andrade has proven time after time that he can hold himself in the ring. So back in the ring, Andrade and Rollins trade blows, and then we have Lucha House Party. Just as Seth Rollins was going to deliver, it looked like, the curb stomp, or the stomp, whatever you choose. The Lucha House Party, yes, Lucha House Party, wearing SmackDown shirts with Fox on the back, attacks Seth Rollins on the floor. So winner by DQ was Seth Rollins. And then Rollins and Andrade kind of came to a mutual respect type of moment, and they fought off Lucha House Party. So thanks, Raw. Thanks, Raw, for really, putting your best foot forward and all about the brand supremacy, but we only have X number of guys. We have like 30 guys on the roster that could come to the aid here. And but screw that. What we're going to do is just, either let you guys fight it off or only send the exact amount that would match up one-on-one with every opponent or every invader, rather than, giving them the numbers game and beating their asses outside the ring. But, hey, that would be too logical. All right. So, Buddy Murphy's shown backstage walking through the arena. He comes to Aleister Black's locker room door and bangs on it. He yells he's there to pick a fight. The door doesn't open immediately, so Murphy says Black is all talk. He walks off around the corner. Black opens his door and looks around, but doesn't see anyone. So, could it be Buddy Murphy next for Aleister Black? Probably. Aleister Black is on the slow burn path, and I'm fine with it. Alright, so Triple H arrives with his black SUVs. All that really great security they have for all the all that whole draft they did. Hey, you got to stay in your brand. Well, apparently not. Apparently not. You can just kind of waltz in at your leisure. Alright. So, next match here, we get a Rowan versus Enhancement Talent. Oh, and Buddy Murphy beat Akira Tozawa. Not a whole lot to say about that. Murphy's Law was hit out of nowhere for the 3 count. But Rowan versus an Enhancement Talent. Rowan came out to the ring, holding what appears to be a cage again with a sheet over it. He dumps the guy on the outside early and then hits a running crossbody on him and the Singh brothers all at once. Back in the ring, Rowan hits the Iron Claw for the 3 count after the squash match, and Rowan leaves with his mysteriously sheet-covered object, so we get to continue that mystery of what the heck is in that sheet and in that cage. All right. And now we have Drew McIntyre versus Kevin Owens and Samoa Joe on commentary. So I haven't really talked about that. Samoa Joe on commentary was good at times. I felt like he wasn't being himself at times. There were some things. So look, I would give him a very good grade given the fact that this is his first true long-form commentary spot. I would give him a very good grade. He did a very good job. He's a good talker, which translated well onto the mic. Again, were there some things that felt contrived and that, he was being yelled at through the headset to say, and that I know what that Samoa Joe wouldn't say? Of course. I feel like this is a CM Punk incident. What I mean by that is, do you remember when CM Punk was doing commentary for a few weeks before he ended up joining the new Nexus and became the new Nexus leader? Yeah, I do too. So could this be one of those where all of a sudden Samoa Joe picks his spot, leaves the commentary team, Dio Madden returns, and Samoa Joe gets involved in a true storyline? Yes. I would say there's a very high chance of that. I don't think Samoa Joe is in here for the long haul of being a commentator. I don't think that's where his skills are used best, and WWE knows that. All right, Kevin Owens versus Drew McIntyre. Really good match here. Probably the best match of the night. It was really, really good. Some near falls that had me believing when Owens hit the stunner twice and Drew McIntyre hit the Claymore kick, which I don't believe anybody's kicked out of yet. And while Kevin Owens didn't kick out, he just got his foot on the rope. Very clever, nice finish that protects Drew McIntyre's finish, and same goes for the stunner. It protects his finish. I am a proponent of protecting finishes because they should be exactly as they are defined. A finish. So they didn't kick out. They didn't have enough energy to kick out, but they had enough to have the ring awareness of being able to get the foot on the rope to break the count. So very, very nice, and they had me believing. 2 pros in the ring here. I can't sing enough praise about this match. The pop-up powerbomb that was done on Drew McIntyre, great stuff. So Owens was about to hit, or he hit a stunner for a second time, about to hit the pin, and then Triple H's music hit and comes out, and we go to commercial, and back from the break, Triple H is in the ring. And when Triple H is out here, he says that there's always magic that happens in the Garden, and tells Kevin Owens they can make magic tonight. And then he had a soft spot for Seth Rollins because he's passionate. But Kevin Owens is a different breed. And Triple H talks about his history in NXT, his WWE debut. All good points to bring up, by the way. And then says that Owens was taken from NXT by people who didn't understand him. And once they got Owens, they didn't want him anymore. And Kurt Angle and Shane both didn't end up, both told him he didn't belong. And Triple H says that he knows Owens belongs in NXT, and he has several NXT stars standing on the stage at this point, of which, they just walked freely back through the locker room. Nobody gave him a second look. After weeks of attacks, they all just kind of, turned a blind eye, even though they have the numbers advantage against NXT, and go, you guys go out to the ring. It's preposterous, folks. It's preposterous. This whole thing gets me so effing heated. All right, well, let's move on here. So, moving on with this segment, he tries to basically persuade Owens to jump ship to NXT, and he says that other Raw wrestlers don't give a damn about Owens, which is why they're not out here to help him. Triple H trashes the Raw locker room, and then several Raw wrestlers run out, of only a select few, though, just a few. Then the Undisputed Era hit the ring and attack Owens from behind, and the OC comes out because that's what they do, because they have this undying Raw brand loyalty in their blood, and they chase off the Undisputed Era. Again, the whole segment, though, I have to give an A grade to this whole segment. Triple H is always very good on the mic. Kevin Owens and Drew McIntyre are just... They had a really good match that I would love to see a conclusion to, but I was concerned that they would give a clean finish to this match because I don't think either man can afford a loss. Drew McIntyre is and has been and should be a future world champion. I have said that before. I will say it again. He belongs at the top of the card, and how the hell he hasn't held the championship is beyond comprehension. All right. So Umberto Carrillo's backstage, and Charlie Caruso announces that Umberto will get a shot at AJ Styles' U.S. title next week. And Umberto says he can't explain how excited he is right now. Oh, boy. All right. Then we get Paul Heyman. We go from man of few words and eye-rolling to the brilliant man on the mic of Paul Heyman. Talks about the feud between Brock and Cain Velasquez and Rey Mysterio, and shows us various matches and attacks from the feud. And Heyman says that Brock is 100% fine after Rey's baseball bat or steel. It was like a steel pipe. Who the hell knows what that was? It could have been like I don't even know what it was. So anyway, Heyman says that they can make this interesting, and they're going to make it a no-holds-barred match. And he has a spoiler alert. One beast will beat one legendary luchador. And he says that this is either going to be a miracle or a massacre. He's just a genius with words. I mean, that's just all there is to it. It's just another one of Paul Heyman's promos, and brilliant promos that happened on a weekly basis. So props to him, and I really hope. I think the no holds barred match, the no holds barred stipulation is really to be able to get. I think early spoiler here, early prediction is to get Dominic involved in this. And that's the only reason that this is a no-holds-barred match, of which I hope Brock Lesnar F5s him straight to the depths of hell. And, whoa, wait a minute. Yeah, I have no shame, and I do not apologize for wanting to see Brock Lesnar completely dismantle Rey Mysterio to the point of never returning, and having him destroy Dominic to the point of having it be beyond TV PG. I don't know what it is about my passion for wanting to see this. I don't know. And again, and I'm not talking about actually hurting them. Okay, for those of you that think, oh my God, he actually wants them to hurt him. No, because I know they're real people with families and folks. I'm talking about character. I hope that this storyline is written as such that Brock Lesnar ends the career of Rey Mysterio and nearly ends the life of Dominic. I don't know why. I just would love it. I don't like either character. I'm tired of the Rey Mysterio. I was never a fan of his babyface character to begin with. But again, I'm talking about characters. Characters, not real people. All right? So that's... Just wanted to just differentiate before you guys, go on your Twitter rants on me. So, okay. So we got a promo from Rey, and it was good. It was good, and I'll leave it at that. I mean, he did what he was supposed to do. He's a professional. He just cut a good wrestling promo. Natalya versus Asuka. Asuka wins. It wasn't a very long match. It was a distraction that led to Asuka kicking Natalya in the head and rolling her up for the 3 count after a short but competitive match. All right. Then we get Randy Orton and Ricochet versus the Viking Raiders. Oh, and by the way, how many times are we going to see babyfaces distracted by music? Kevin Owens could have won that match against Drew McIntyre if he just covered him and ignored Triple H's music. I mean, how many times are we going to see this play out? On a football field, if you hear music play and the opposing team is, you're winning, right? And all you have to do is throw your 10-yard pass to your receiver in the end zone to get a touchdown, but you hear some music. Do you stop? No, you don't. Of course you don't. Until you hear the whistle, you don't stop. Ugh. All right. I'm on just a tear of sorts today, guys. So, Randy Orton and Ricochet versus the Viking Raiders. Good match. Ivar's athleticism was on display here. Some of the things he did to match Ricochet was funny yet impressive, and I enjoyed it. Ricochet did his usual flip-flop and flam, and that people go, wow, ooh, spots. That's what wrestling's about in 2019. Spots, spots, spots. What's next? What's next? Cool move, cool reversal, cool. Instead of getting involved in an actual emotional storyline to build character depth, it's very superficial in spots, and I'm not a fan of that, but that's for another day. So, good match. Orton dropped Ivar, and he looked like he was about to measure him up for an RKO, but the SmackDown theme song hits, and out comes SmackDown wrestlers to the ring, and a bunch of SmackDown wrestlers beat everyone down, of which how all the blue shirts got through the locker room again, the most inept, asleep locker room in the history of wrestling, is just baffling. It's baffling, the improbability and preposterousness of this whole storyline. It's if I don't laugh, I'll cry. It's just, ugh. All right. So, again, this went to a no contest, but NXT wrestlers come out and they start beating down the SmackDown wrestlers, and now they come face-to-face with Orton. Orton hit a couple of RKOs before more NXT members come out. Seth Rollins' music hits, and here comes the locker room leader, and a mob of Raw wrestlers that were asleep for the other, 3 shows or 4 shows in which they could have outnumbered their opponents, decide to go, oh, here we go, let's get everyone down to the ring and let's empty the locker room. My God, it's just so. Mr. Locker Room Leader gets out there, and AJ Styles gets beat down in the ring as Triple H appears on the big screen, and he said, and I tweeted this out too, that in 6 days of Survivor Series, they'll show the world that NXT is the A brand of the WWE, and he challenges Raw and SmackDown to bring their best shot to NXT on Wednesday. This is nothing more than trying to, well, number one, it's purposeful for getting a Survivor Series build. It's also a ratings grab, and I wonder what WWE is going to do after Survivor Series, because everyone just goes back to their own worlds, presumably, and hopefully there's no more crossover for years. Honestly, I wish that was the case, but it's not. But it's clearly hot-shotting. Maybe they'll be able to up the rating this week to finally defeat AEW after 7 weeks straight of their victory, as marginal as it has been at times. But the whole logic of Triple H, saying that the door is wide open on NXT, I tweeted this out. Well, since, when was getting in the door a problem for any rival brand to walk into the opposing team's building? Never. Because it has never happened, because everyone is just so lackadaisical about the plausibility of having their opponents just lollygag into the ring, stand there at times. Nobody's trying to hide from anybody. It's just there in the open, and everyone's let everyone in because that's just the best way to do this, and it's just not. Triple H, because that's the problem, is, well, you had the doors shut. That's why they didn't get, an invasion the last few weeks. Although they had the OC and they had Bayley, but it wasn't like a mass scale invasion. So, yeah, that's the problem, Triple H. You're opening the doors now. Now they're going to attack because you're not going to, have people guarding the doors. If you can see me, I'm eye-rolling very dramatically right now. Very dramatically. So, as you can tell, I may be a little bit sour on this Raw brand rivalry, SmackDown NXT rivalry, but you know what? Can anybody legitimately out there, and I'm serious, tell me that you are actually excited about a specific brand winning that's not named NXT? And even if NXT wins, what does that mean? Doesn't mean anything. They'll probably win a couple of matches, but who determines what the ultimate win is? And nothing's on the line anyway, other than bragging rights. We know that. But what if what if Raw wins the women's match And what if SmackDown wins the tag team match? And what if NXT wins the traditional 5-on-5-on-5 5-on-5-on-5 elimination match? They each held the victory. Okay, well, who gets the bragging rights? I mean, this whole thing is, oh my God, the more I dig into it, the more I just, the more I need to just stop this show because it's going to go in circles and I'll, rant longer, and I don't need to. So, all right, guys. Well, this is not supposed to be a negative show. It's really not. It's my love of wrestling. Again, for those of you that, oh my God, shut up. It's all you do is rant. Well, you know what? This is when I see a product that I love doing things that they shouldn't be doing that I know could be better. And I love WWE. I've been watching them since 1997, 22 freaking years that I've been watching wrestling, and I will continue to watch wrestling because that's just a part of me. And I don't do the rants. I don't do the critiques for ratings or a headline. It's truly how I feel about things. And I know that there are a lot of shows out there that cuss, swear, and do all these things just for ratings, and then they can, basically hot shot their audience. What I do here is honestly how I feel, and zero punches pulled and zero drama included. I just tell you how I feel because it's a product I love. Okay, so all right, well, guys, don't forget. I'll be back either tomorrow or Thursday with your wrestling nostalgia, and then Saturday with Ashley on our Survivor Series picks. And then also AEW and NXT reviews coming Thursday, Friday. And, of course, Survivor Series review, Raw review, all of that next week. And maybe I'll pop in a new show next week since there is a Survivor Series pay-per-view. Maybe I'll do a Survivor Series review Monday and then a Raw review Tuesday, SmackDown Wednesday. We'll see. Or a Raw Wrestling Nostalgia Wednesday. But the schedule for that will be forthcoming. In the meantime, guys, thank you so much for listening. As always, I'll talk to you next time. And don't forget to head on over to patreon.com/WWE Podcast if you want all the ads removed. Enjoy your night. I'll talk to you next time.